You wanted to touch on sex before marriage, age of women as indicator of value. Okay. So sex before marriage.
I think I don't.
Yeah, you're waiting till marriage, correct?
Yeah.
Do you think, realistically speaking, because there's been some slip ups in the past, do you think like you're gonna slip up again?
No, I don't. I've been baptized by the Holy Spirit since then, FYI, and then so there's more power helping me to not do that.
Sure.
And I think I have a renewed view on like why I don't want to do it. Like, it was more with my ex. I didn't really have that established, like why I really believe in it. It was just like, this is what we do as Christians.
Okay.
And now I really believe it, because the breakup would have been way easier for sure, to your point.
And then this is, I've watched men on the show harp on the importance of a low body count and finding a young woman. I don't agree with some of the views expressed talking about how a 21-year-old woman is higher value than a 31-year-old woman. Yeah. You said, I think it discredits women who spent the majority of their 20s in school or devoted to their career.
Yeah.
I don't make it a point to say, I typically don't use the terminology high value for men or women. I typically avoid using that terminology. I don't think it's usually helpful for describing things, but so you're saying.
So I watched this, and it sounds, I think as a woman, and it'd be interesting to hear what the other ladies think. I always assume that when I get married, like I'm finding a partner, I'm finding a teammate, like I'm finding my person I'm gonna, like in Genesis, it's Eve is his ezer, and it literally it's like the word helper, but like God is also described as that frequently throughout the Old Testament, and it's like we wouldn't think God is subordinate to us. So anyway, so it's like you're finding the person that's gonna like maximize you.
Wait, you don't want to be you don't want to be submissive to your husband?
No, I do. Okay. So.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay. Just. Okay.
Why?
Well, no, just because you said, you referenced the verse and how Eve.
So like the partner, like the match, like she was his perfect complement in every way, and so I always assume that men are looking
subordinate.
For that. Sorry, I guess it's been used that word has been used to say that women are have to be like. Subordinate in a way that's very misogynistic and not like, and I just used it to say like, it doesn't mean lesser than, because we wouldn't describe God as lesser than, even though that word is also used to describe him.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the verse, so I can't really.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I saw a video where a woman went through and explained it. Simply what it means is that the value of being his helpmeet, his helper, that actual Hebrew word is an incredibly powerful word that is invaluable to the growth and success of Adam. It was as if the same way God treats us in his support and help for us as humanity, that same virtue was pinned upon Eve to be that person for Adam. So she was incredibly impactful, just as necessary as he was. So she wasn't, in fact, not equal to him. She was equal to him, but they had a different role. Mm-hmm. So her value wasn't diminished because she was the helpmeet.
Exactly.
Okay.
She's not, and Eve is also not described as the vessel of Adam's legacy. You know what I mean? She's not a vessel for him just to like reproduce. And I've been watching and so all my life I'm like, oh, cool, that's what I want. And I'm going to find my partner and it's going to be great. And I thought that's a men thing too. And then I've started watching these things I'll watch like Pearl. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And it sounds like men just want a woman to be either like a mother. They just want her to like create, like to raise their children, and that's it. Like, it doesn't sound like they're wanting a partner, and especially when these men are talking about wanting women that are so much younger than them. Like, they're not looking for someone that's their equal, that sees things like that's kind of on the same page with them, that's developed their values in the same way. They want someone like purity. If you want someone younger, because she's probably more pure and she's had fewer guys running through her. Okay. But she's not cultivating purity. And then how is she actually going to be your equal match? Like, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, there's a whole, and okay, so there's a couple points here. Are you linking it to, because you're kind of linking it to career a little bit. Well,
so I think it's hard because women, we were told, The age group of like 27 to 35 is kind of rough because we were told, like, we were hit with all these things, like rise of social media. That's when the dating app started. Women were told to like go get your money, get your bag, like get your education. That's what that's what is good for you. The
feminist mind virus,
the feminist
right?
movement, that was like that was when the narrative of like men suck, I think, started going around. Like for that, like we just got hit with it. All these rise of right, so like it's like you can go do that. It's trans movement, all these things, right? We kind of got hit with, and so fewer people are getting married in that age group. And then the men that are like my age want a woman that's like 21,
which is unrealistic. I think that what's happening is these young men who are not mature are just saying things that sound cute on the internet. They want low body count, and that means age. You also want a woman that's ready and mature. A lot of men are not mature in their 20s. You want to be 40 and date a 20-year-old? Y'all not even on the same page. That woman don't have life experience. I would argue that every woman in here will say, man, I was different in my 20s. I was way different in my 20s. Now I'm more mature. And so most men should not be trying to go for a younger woman just off because her body count.
Exactly.
That's not realistic. You should consider the body count, but you do want a mature woman, because you can't get too caught up on the body count, man. I'm telling you, you'll never know anyway.
I get a little caught up on it.
You'll never know anyway. You'll never know unless
disagree.
you actually knew. They're not going to tell.
I get a little caught up.
Some women may have had a point in time in college where they were real nasty. And they moved on. And they moved on.
I'll get caught up.
They moved. I'm saying they moved on, and they want to get back with their life, and it's been decades since they've been that way.
Join the nunnery.
And they're not going to ever tell you the truth.
Join the nunnery.
Join the nunnery.
Brian.
Join the nunnery.
Here you go.
It's over.
Let's say this. Let's say this. But what about men though? What about men?
Yeah.
Can a man have too much of a body count?
So mature.
Can he watch porn every day and
think
be healthy? No.
Well, I think it's a little different though, but it's a little different. Okay.
So do you think young men can just run it up as much as they care to, and then later in life they can stop?
I don't think it's good for men to just run through a bunch of chicks. I don't think that's a good thing. It's certainly not. And again, same thing with the high value, low value terms. I don't like using the terms alpha and beta. I don't like these terms, but just for the sake of this conversation, it's certainly not alpha to go and bang a bunch of chicks and get herpes. It's not alpha to bring your future wife STDs. That's not alpha. So that's not high value. So and obviously, whether you're a man or a woman, the more sexual partners you have, you're increasing your risk of getting an STD, herpes, etc. It's not like, that's not a W to like fuck a bunch of chicks and then get herpes. You rolled the dice, you got the herpes, like.
Or to be damaged as a man.
Sure.
Where you can never take a woman serious because you're looking for the next.
But I would say though, to your point about age and stuff, and I do think that there's a evolutionary component to men preferring younger women. And I think it comes down to, one, younger women are more fertile. So if you're a 40-year-old man and who are you going to date? Someone between the ages of 30 to 40, and you want to have kids, for example, you might start looking towards women who are 25 to 29. They're a better bet for fertility. And I think that's just logically, intellectually makes a lot of sense, but also just from a purely evo-psych angle and just evolutionary biological reality, women who, after the age of 35, they get into high-risk pregnancy territory. It becomes harder to get pregnant. I'm not saying it's impossible. You can be in your 40s and get pregnant, but if you're a man who's got his life together and you're looking to start a family, it is probably a better bet, fertility speaking, to go for younger women. And it's just evolutionary.
Not too young.
Huh?
Not too young.
Okay, when I say the word woman, I am talking about adults. Are you trying to say like minors?
Well, you just said the younger, so I just
younger women.
So I just
We're talking
So
about
like early
we're
20s.
talking about adult relationships here. I'm not.
But
What do you think I'm talking about? Fucking 11-year-old? What the fuck? I'm talking
No,
about
just-
adult relationships.
No, you just said younger, so I thought the term
Yes.
was like the younger you go.
I'm assuming 18 and up.
Yes,
That's
we're
what I'm
talking
assuming
about
here.
adult relationships. I'm not talking
No,
about.
but you make an incredible point, because I do think men, when they get older, they do have to evaluate that. And you know, you're a man in your 40s and you've never been married, you don't have any kids. You know that you're probably in a weird territory yourself, but I do think men like that do want younger women, and it makes sense to, right? You can't have a woman in her 40s when you 40, because y'all ain't gonna have no kids if that's what you aspire to be. But I do think these young guys they're in their 30s or late 20s, and they're acting like a woman who's 31 is just dead meat. And
Seriously.
I feel like that's crazy to me to believe that, because these young men are not ready until they're in their late 20s or 30s. Like I told you, you can beat your chest and say, "Oh, I'm ready for women. I'm dating," and your mama still pay your phone bill.
It's all about
But
maturity.
those things, young men need to really be focused on developing and becoming a man that can provide first, and then start dating. And sometimes women who have gone through the phase of being confused about who they are and dating, they come out of that when they go into their late 20s and 30s. And I think that's where women are probably prime, is right around that area. When they're too young, man, they're lost. They don't know what they want to be.
100%.
And you don't want to be with a woman like that. That's how you get divorced.
Yeah, and there's actually a divorce rate. No. To that point, when you marry someone, 5 years, there's a 5-year age gap that increases the chance of divorce by like 20%, and when there's a 10-year age gap, it increases chance of divorce by 40%.
Look, you're 29, right?
I'm 29.
29, right? How do I?
And apparently geriatric to a lot of these people watching.
Look, it's just the reality is that across multiple age cohorts of men, like in terms of just what men find the most physically attractive, it's women who are like 21. At any age, most men, purely physical attractiveness, it's 21. Whereas women, it tends to match up more so with a woman who's 29 is going to find a guy who's 30, like peak physical attractiveness. But men, as they continue to age, they continue to find women who are like 20 to 22 within that's a constant when it comes to physical attractiveness. There's probably an evolutionary basis for that, because younger women are more fertile.
But there was a study that showed that men prefer women's, like as they get older, their attractiveness to men, it goes up faster. Like they prefer men that are closer to their age. But men, it did too. It was much less significant. Like for a woman, every year she aged, she found people that were like, it was like 5 years plus 1 year. So like people 6 years less than younger.
Okay,
than her,
so
and then
you're
7 years.
29, right? So here, let me think. Okay, I'm 34. I can't think of what's the benefit of dating a 34-year-old instead of a 24-year-old? Because
for me?
No, for me, because I find a woman who's 24 much more physically attractive than a woman than 34.
It depends on the woman, right? A 34-year-old woman.
They're gonna get triggered.
A 34-year-old woman that take care of herself and that's healthy and active and stuff, she can look just as good as a younger woman.
Disavow.
You don't think so?
Are you saying it because I'm 24?
No, just
Okay.
okay.
Just making sure.
These little kids, like down here, when I drove in today, these are little kids out here. There's no way.
They're party chicks. Though. They're party chicks. I don't want a party chick.
But their bodies and their shape and what they look like is
they're very physically
20-year-old. They're not to me. They're not attractive.
They all
These are
look
little
the
kids.
same.
How they dress?
No, because they look like little kids.
No, they do.
They're still in their teens.
They
They're
look
all
like little
skinny,
immature women that's not developed.
Yeah.
They're just like little kids out there. When I see them, I see little kids. I see young women. There's nothing a 20-year-old can do for me as a 36-year-old man. It's not. I don't even want to look at them. They have no experience in life. They've done nothing. They still got to figure themselves out.
Like a woman's experience in life to me is not really something that I'm looking for.
So what do you want?
So
Do
you
you want a
want-
vessel for your semen? Like
What? No.
because
They got
seriously,
personal.
because no, but if you don't want her as a partner, like someone that can be equal to you, then what do you want? So and I don't
Equal. Who? Okay. This whole
partner who
idea.
can make
This
you
whole
better.
idea. But most women don't want equal. You want a guy who makes more money than you. You want a guy who's taller than you. You want a guy who's confident. You want a guy who's entertaining.
But you want a guy
who's
you want a
funny.
girl who's more virtuous. You want a girl who's maybe calmer and will calm you down. You want a girl who is probably like beautiful. You want a girl who's fertile. You want like
And that's
so you
not
have
going to
those
be a
things too,
woman.
and that's okay.
That's
There's
not going to
different
be
standards.
a woman who's probably around my age.
I think Brian, you're around the age where women are probably in their prime. It's
34?
I think early 30s.
No,
early
women,
30s.
Women is 24.
I think I'm not when I say prime. When I say prime,
Physical prime.
no.
is 24.
When I say prime, I'm not talking about physical. I'm not talking about any of that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the whole package of a woman.
Yes.
That's what I think. When they're 25, I mean, just
That's
you're
good.
gonna
I don't
deal
know
with.
about that one.
I think you may deal with a lot of immature women when you're 25.
Yeah.
They're not gonna understand you and unless they raised by
Thank you.
quality parents. Now, if they got good parents and they raised in a household that has them in a position where they're very mature, a 25-year-old woman will be incredible. But when you're when you're in your 30s, 20-year-old women are in a different generation than you are. They don't understand the things that you would understand as a mature man in your 30s, headed into your late 30s. Yeah. I think I could be wrong, but I'm just saying for me, when I was, when I'm in my 30s, 18 and 20-year-olds and 21, 22, I never even thought about dating girls that young.
What I would say is that there are plenty of women in any age that are immature, that are toxic, that are red flags, that in any age group. So it's not like just because a woman's 34 that means that she's magically going to be a fantastic partner. Now, also, there's often a common thing that comes up with this conversation is, well, what do you have in common with someone who's, 5 years younger than you, 10 years younger than you, whatever it may be? Commonality is not very high on the totem pole, in my view, when it comes to romantic partners. And I think that's the case for both men and women. She doesn't like the same movies as I like. I don't really care. Commonality, what do men and women have in common really to begin with?
It's not.
So commonality is not super important to me. What I will say, and I've got a list here of kind of like why you might want to date a woman who's, keyword, just clarification here, woman, so adult woman, because people are trying to want to shift it into, okay. So more physically attractive, I would say more emotionally available, more romantic, more energy, optimistic for the future, more time to live life and travel the world before starting a family, more fertile, less baggage and trauma. That's really big. The more relationships you've had, you get more baggage, you have more relationship trauma, you're jaded. There's only room for one jaded person in this relationship, and that's me.
Oh.
Okay. More open to new ideas, more agreeable, typically easier to build a life with, less likely to have gotten with, like we were talking about before, the more sexual partners you've had, you've probably landed on a guy who's a top fucking G. And I don't want to be like, you're going to be like when in the dark recesses of your mind, once you've been with a really top fucking guy, you're not going to be happy with Mr. Normal.
I think I do think women will probably answer this. I mean, some of you guys have been with guys, and some of the guys in the past you couldn't even, like, you have no recollection emotionally with that person. I mean, I don't know if that's the way you got. Some women get over that, right? They don't have no feeling for the guy anymore, and it's like a blur in their mind. Just like me, and my wife was like, "You slept with some girl," and I'm like, "I don't even remember. I have no I don't even know what it was like. I just know I slept with the girl, but I don't know what it's like." I'm so far removed from that at this point that it's not really adding any issues to my life.